Hello everyone, Richard Carlton here. I haven't shaved today on Operation Scruffy Friday. We got a lot of people here for Friday. Very exciting, very exciting, very exciting. So, what do we do? FMTrain.tv, where we teach you about the great FileMaker platform, how to make great applications with FileMaker, how to answer questions, because if those of you saw the broadcast yesterday, we pretty much had it under control until Nick lost control. And we thought he was drinking on the job, and I couldn't help him. I just like, hey, whatever, you know. And but we got to see how we triage and troubleshoot and look for problems on a layout until we determined that one single checkbox was causing the issue. So we're going to pick the conversation up today. But before we do that, I'm going to call Nick here in a second. I want today is an open kind of Q&A day. If you have questions, definitely ask questions today. I want to remind everyone who's, and this is more for the recording as much as anything else, is that, you ready? Everyone ready? 1, 2, 3. This broadcast is brought to you by FMTrain.tv, where we give you the greatest FileMaker training at a super low price. Visit FMTraining.tv, where you can participate. Now, most of you already have these bundles, but as a reminder, we have bundles here. We also have, for those of you who have, say, bought in the last, say, 3 months or so, if you haven't got the double bundle, we actually have a double. It's like a double burger bundle. It's really quite cool. And it's basically $349 gets you a double pack. So it's either the annual the complete subscription here for 2 people for a year, or it's a 1-person subscription for 2 years. So if you bought within the last, say, 90 days or so, we can set that up. That's our DevCon bundle. If you're interested in that, send an email to support. And if in the last, say, 3 months or so you bought it, or somehow I owe you a favor or something like that, feel free to let us know, and then we can charge you the difference and set you up. So I want to make sure that no one feels like they got screwed on the deal. All right? Where is Thunder, Nick?
I'm here.
You there? Don't tell me you're on the toilet. Were you on the toilet? No?
Yeah.
No?
I'm here.
Okay, you're there. Okay, great. Can you hear us? Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you, and
Great.
you can see me.
No, we can see you. You're actually more shaved than I am, right? So that's great.
Yeah.
All right.
So I'm not drinking on the job. No, first of all, let me correct some false assumption. Yeah, I'm not drinking on the job. Okay, so I have a great news, because yesterday I talked to a person at Claris that is close to the matter of indexes. Okay, I cannot name him, but you know who is. Okay, Richard, you know who I'm talking about. So, and he told me this about indexes. Nobody knows exactly what triggers your index now. Okay, there's too many things that can trigger that. Yeah, value list is one of it, but there's tens and tens of things that can trigger the index. Security options, ODBC options, sharing options, APIs calls. There's too many things that can trigger, that can call the index and trigger the index. So nobody knows the list. Okay, so that's the first thing. So the second thing is I'm ready to go with you, Richard. So any question?
Let's do a couple questions first, because Michael was first in line. And Michael Gravel, hopefully I'm saying that right, from Montreal, right? From Nick from Montreal.
Okay. Montreal.
Right, there we go. So he says, can you elaborate? So there was a conversation Tuesday about, and I don't think you're around, but we're talking about doing development on an application live on this server. And the conversation, Nick, was mostly about the idea of, really the idea was, if you're doing like development, it's the fastest way to get the development in front of the customers. The problem is there's not really a big testing process. So if you're doing like a lot of hacking and slashing and recreating relationships and a lot of heavy duty stuff, you could disrupt what the users are doing. If you're doing like working on a new report that they would only activate by pressing a button, and so you're kind of isolated away from them, that's, you don't want to negatively affect the users. At the same time, I have a couple of you here who are like, I've got to do offline development. I've got to do offline development. I'm like, why? Because there's a couple of people ask me the question. They're not big spenders in terms of like throwing money around, right? And if you do live development on the FileMaker server, it's it's cheaper for everyone involved because you only have to do the work once. Now we have a customer who may or may not be watching, who does coaching with us, and they actually watch. They do coaching and they do the work offline, and then they actually reproduce all the same work that they learned in the coaching session to the live file. So they actually do it offline, they learn, then they do it on the live file. So they actually have the process of doing it twice, so that reinforces the learning. I totally get that, makes perfect sense. But if you're trying to do this the most expedient way possible, doing it on the live file, like for example, I was updating some internal systems today. I got some more to do this afternoon. In my opinion, there are very few people that are going to run into it, and if they do, they're probably some of them are on my junior staff, and they're likely not to complain at me too much, because complaining at their boss's boss is probably not a great idea. So I'm not too worried about that. But if you are the low end of the customer and you have a very big customer and it's like mission critical and 100 people using the database at one time and it's like, then yeah, you might want to build it offline and having a way of pushing it up to them. So the conversation from Michael, Nick, you can talk about this, but basically I mentioned the idea that if you're doing a heavy impact to users, you're ripping schema up, changing schema, things like that, things that are going to cause their screen to flash, Nick, when they get refreshed, right?
Yes. Yeah. So, yeah.
What is your advice? What is your advice, Nick?
Okay.
Why don't you take a swing at when should you do live development, and under what criteria would you not do live development?
So let me share my screen.
We're there. We're on right with you live.
Yeah. Okay. So this is where. This is where the anchor buoy. We had this conversation already. The differences between the schema on anchor buoy and the spider web. This is where the anchor buoy is the key of success for this. So let's say you have, like you said, let's take your scenario that you just mentioned. You have a new report, and you might have new relationships and stuff like that, or you want to work on the relationships and test stuff on the relationship and stuff like that. So what you do, let's say you have a new report that deals with asset, for example, right? So you select. See here, for example, I know very well what the schema that is related to asset with the anchor buoy technique. This is asset. Everything for asset is there, right? So what you can do, you select all your kind of schema here, and you press the Alt key. So it's Option on Mac and Alt on PC, and you duplicate this. So now you have a new relationship with assets, right? Completely new, right? So do two different set of layout of relationship, but they do the same. So when you do what's the name? When you do the duplication, you keep them. You keep all your relationship working, and they point to the right tables, and everything goes there. So now that you have your new relationship, okay, you want a new layout, so you create a new layout, right? And you say, okay, I want the thing to point to the new the new relationship with your T something 2. Okay, I want to point to the T18 asset 2. Okay, so now you can have a new relationship, a new layout that points to this new table, and you can do whatever you want here and put all the field you want. And and if you want to modify the relationships, you can do it here, and you don't have any disruptions. So okay. Here I went to the extreme. I duplicated everything, but most of the time for what's the name, a report, you don't need to duplicate all of this, right? Maybe part of it, or
most of the time for me, I never duplicate the TOs like this. I will duplicate scripts and work on copies of scripts. I will duplicate layouts and work on copies of layouts, because once you finalize, whatever you're doing, I mean, it's actually kind of interesting. What you can do is you can, because a script, you can copy and paste all the contents and move them from one to the other real easy. You can copy and paste all the contents of the layout objects real easy, so you can kind of restore it pretty easily. This one here, it's really, because the layouts are glued to specific TOs, right? This one's a little more challenging. If you really had to go this route, I might think about doing it with a copy of the file, then like using the deploy tool to push it up or something. Nick?
Yeah. Look, yeah. I mean, as I said, you are in the extreme. Let's say you want to work on the report that is about assets and user, for example. So you duplicate it, but it doesn't matter to have a duplication of what's the name. You can have as many a relationship as you want, TOCs as you want. It's not hurting the file performance or whatever, or even the file size. Let's say you want to work on this. So that's what I was. So you have a brand new set of TOCs. I'm doing that all the time. You know, if you look how it is in my development here. So yes, I have the from the assets to all the I have an anchor asset to the buoy here, but I have also what I call satellites, kind of small ones that point from but this is not a good example here, but I have a subset. I have multiple subset of duplicated relationship when I want to deal with, for example, something very special, or I want to deal with something different because I am on WebDirect, or something different, doing the same thing but slightly different. With I had to add some, I need to add some on the relationship. I need to add some stuff here. Here I need to add a condition because I am in Go, and I want to make sure that I'm hiding stuff or adding stuff. So when you have a kind of a significant differences between a schema from one layout to another, it could have an advantage to duplicate the. And actually, that's why FileMaker did that. Add this possibility to duplicate a full set. See, when you duplicate this, you duplicate that. See, and you duplicate only this, and as you duplicate, you have the relationship following, and then you can do whatever you want here. You can start with this, and then add this, and add this, and you don't care about screwing what is on production, because you want a copy, and then you keep that as a. This is asset report.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So let me answer a couple questions here. So it came up. Yeah. So David was asking. Well, there's a couple. They were going back and forth. So Nick, I need you to probably plan on covering the trick for getting auto enter. If you want to go find that demo, getting auto enter fields to get them to update. You know, like a trick. Remember the little trick where you could hit the trigger field kind of thing to get it to auto enter to update. So just get ready for that. I'll let you get ready. I'm going to answer another question here. Adding the additional table occurrence groups, right? So here's a copy of starting point. So in the event that that you did what Nick was suggesting here, okay, and Nick didn't say anything wrong, but there was a question like, well, if you duplicate this entire group of records, or this TOs right here, won't that cause a performance hit? Okay, so the issue that the answer is yes, but no, and probably not enough for you to worry about. So when I say perform, and when we're talking about performance, I'm only talking about if your files are up on a server and you're accessing it across the internet, which is more than half, I would say a majority of solutions are accessed that way. Very few are just local. So I'm not talking about local files, I'm talking about the worst case scenario. The FileMaker database is on a server, the server is 100 miles away or 200 miles away. When you first open a FileMaker file, one of the things you get is it downloads the entire schema and it caches it. It downloads all this stuff. So if I go back here and I zoom out on this is some of the schema, the layout IDs, the script IDs, things like that. It downloads all this. So if you add another table occurrence group here, it will increase the size of the initial download. However, that's a kind of a one-time one-time penalty you pay on the first open. If you never change any of these things again, they will not if the user formats their hard drive and reinstalls FileMaker, it will re-download, right? So once again, we're talking about the cache. We talked about this the other day, performance-wise, really before Nick, well, maybe Nick was here. We were talking about one is the moving of the bits down from the internet. The second bit was the fact that FileMaker really saves that data and tries to your computer. The data is resaved and retained. And then the third thing is the churn. And the churn is when it's grinding on data that's coming in or is data that's already cached. So FileMaker is actually, the processor is churning the records, flipping them, doing things. So you're not waiting necessarily for the data to come down. Maybe it's already down. It's churning. And so it's network, bringing it down from the network. Understand that there is the cache there and the churn. So really the network down and the churn are the two things that affect you. When you go to a layout, say for example, that we go, this is a really important concept because you can start to answer these questions yourself. When I go to this contact button right here, I'm going to go to the contact table occurrence group. FileMaker, from the point I hit this button right here, FileMaker is going to read the cache and it's going to start churning because it has to find that table occurrence group, load it all in, evaluate it, then go to the layout and evaluate all the objects. Are there hiddens? All the hidden. Start processing. Process. All the conditional formatting, conditional formatting. And that is the churn. That is a churn. So will there the number one performance things you can run into with people struggling on big solutions is the churn. You want to minimize the churn. Adding another table occurrence group does not increase the churn unless you cross-connect them. If you cross-connect them, then your churn just got double the size. Your churn is much larger. Okay? So I answered that question. I'm just scanning here real quick.
But duplicating the Anku buoy all together and pointing the new layout, the report layout or whatever layout, to the new anchor table of occurrence. That for example asset 2, right? If you point them, you don't load the whole thing again. It's a great technique.
It loads it on the first load. It loads it on the first load.
On the first load.
But then after that, it doesn't load it anymore, right? Because it's already.
Frankly, if you have a dial-up connection, maybe you can feel the pain. But now, if you have 100 megabytes internet or it's very hard to see the difference unless you have 1,000 of occurrences, which is.
Well, okay, back up, but that is all. So let me, So Nick, we put the stopwatch to this stuff. So basically, if you've never opened a copy of Starting Point, and I've done this to Japan, we put it in Japan. We've never opened the copy of Starting Point 7. It's 20. It was in that scenario with the server there. It was 21 seconds for you to download all the initial cache that you would need, all the tables.
I know what you mean.
Right. It's 21 seconds.
Yeah, that's for the first time.
And then every time thereafter, it's 7 seconds.
Yeah.
And during that 7 seconds, one of the things it's doing is comparing the cache items it has to what's on the server to make sure it's up to date, right?
Yeah. So what I was saying is, you're right on this. That's the very first ever loading of the solution. But after that, even if you duplicate like 10 occurrences, it's loading the 10 occurrences. It's not loading the whole thing again.
Yeah, it would download those 10 initially, but so it's not really a concern. It's a concern if you start cross-connecting the table occurrence groups. Then you're going to get this churn, right? And Nick is not. I've just started using the word churn because I was having a hard time explaining it. But basically, FileMaker may not even be going out on the network at all on your computer. It has everything from the network it needs, but you've given it so much to do with hidden items and conditional formattings and a filter on a portal. And even though you have all the data, it still has to churn that data. And so that churn causes a delay. There is churn on this layout right here. We have a demo. I'm not sure where it's at. We took these calculations off here, and it cut down the churn on this layout by half because these unstored calculations the count of the related record. And that actually, it's great. It works fine until you have millions of records. And then that little item in starting point is something, it's the one thing in starting point that's really not efficient. But we talk about it. But if you remove those, it cuts the churn down by half. So very, very important topics. There's a lot of questions. We got a conversation going now. Gadidi, is there a way to see all the places, layouts, and buttons a script is being called from? Yeah, it's called base elements. You have to buy the product. We covered that in a broadcast a week or two ago with Nick Orr. He had a discount at the time. It was quite a bit off. Probably, I don't know if it's going anymore, but that if you want to see where a script is referenced or a layout field is referenced, only way to do it is with a product like Base Elements, and I use Base Elements. I bought it for my entire company. So that's the answer to that question. You have to buy a product for that. Should I use a value count instead of a value? Value count is values, right? Not pattern count. I guess. Okay, so John Haggerty has a question, Nick, about hunting for carriage returns in a block of text, say in a text field. He's trying to count the number of carriage returns in there, and I said pattern count.
No, it's value count. Value is a carriage return in a field. That's a value. So you type whatever words, blah 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 blah. I can do a demo if you can show the screen.
Oh yeah, we can go back to your screen. Yeah, we want to look at that. I mean, I guess you could do value count. I normally default to pattern count. Value count probably be faster, right?
Oh, it's 100 times faster. So a value is this, okay? A value is a Nick, Rick, and who is asking this, Jetson?
John Haggerty.
John. Okay. And John. Okay. So I have 3 value.
Okay.
Because it's Nick, Rick, and John. So a value is this. Okay.
Okay. So I have
this is a value. So if I have Nick Hunter, and that's what I want.
What if there's a blank one? What if you put one that's blank? Would that still?
So because
it normally cuts it back, right? So
see, it's still saying 3 values. You can have multiple it's still saying one value.
Right. Okay? So it's giving you the I was thinking the value is this entire because it's an entire string. But if you count them, it also would match the number of paragraph returns on the back side, right? So
So if you do this, it's 4 value.
It'd be 4.
Because it's a carriage return.
Yeah, you forced it in there. Return. Okay, what if this is null right here? Just put quote there, Nick, because it'll roll.
It's not a value.
It'll roll it up, right?
It's not a value. Yeah, it's rolled out. So if you have this, for example, this will be a value because you have a carriage return, right? So it's anything when you have a list of something like you see list of, for example, here I have a list. Okay, this, and you say value count on this. I have 500. Right? That's it. That value count. Right?
Yep.
If you do pattern counts, if you do that way, the pattern count this, and you search for this, actually you missed the last one.
So you're saying I got it except for the last one.
Yeah, because the last one doesn't have a carriage return, and it's not counting it as what's the name as a value because it doesn't have a carriage return at the end. So value count doesn't care about value count use something another mechanism to do that.
Right.
You know? Right. And it's much faster. Value count is much faster. Still slow because you want to value that works on any kind of list of values. Okay. So depend on the value.
So I mostly had a good answer. Is just slow, right? So once again, that's just me. I'm writing slow code. That's why you're lean design and I'm fat design, Nick. There we go.
Yeah. No, I mean, to answer the question about what you talked about before, the performance issue on those numbers. you know, those numbers on top of the tab on FM starting point.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's, of course, that's a way to keep that functionality, which is cool. You can keep that without having the performance issue. On FM starting point, we didn't want to, remember we had this conversation, we didn't want to show the trigger way to resolve this issue, but there's a way to do that. There's just a way to just fix that issue about performance and keeping the feature.
Well, in order for Well, this gets back into basic performance. Like, so if you go into, if you have okay, I can flip back over there real quick. It's an interesting, we're kind of bouncing around here. If we're back over in here, if I don't actually dip in and look at this data, it doesn't load the related data. That's my understanding, right?
Yeah.
But because we're writing a calculation here that's evaluating, it's like a sum function or whatever it is, it's evaluating the data that's in here. It's actually forcing a load of these related records, which you may or may not need them. So for the fact, like, if you have 20 records in here, you never need to want to load them. Putting the number there forces them to load into memory, right?
Exactly.
And so you have to. So what would be your way of getting around that, Nick? You'd have to show the number without loading those records, right?
Yeah. So that's very easy. So
it's
each
easy.
time you,
I'm good.
Yeah, it's easy without to be easy. Because it needs to, okay, you need to master the pieces.
I'm going back to your, yeah. Well, okay, but
okay, it's an advanced technique. It's not unfortunately, if you're new to FileMaker, it's a problem. Okay, so pretty much what you need to do. Let's say how many related. Can you show your screen again? I'm going to explain that without doing it big.
Okay.
Yeah, show your screen again.
And then Dan's got a comment, but I'll do that in a second. Okay, so here I am. Yeah. So now what are we doing?
Okay, so how many times? Okay, when the number of projects related to this contact changes, when you modify or existing project, or when you create a new project attached to that contact.
Correct.
So the trigger that will change the value of how many projects related to this contact happen, not in contact, but happen in projects. So when you go in project,
so then as you add records there, you write but you have to write that into the contact record, right?
Exactly. That is the mistake many people are doing. They think they want to update the number of projects related to the contact from the contact, and that has to happen when you enter the contact. Okay, so and that actually makes the thing even slower. But if you change the value, when the change actually occurs, it occurs when you add a project or when you change the project assignation. Like if you go to the project, like the one you have here, Rick, if you go there.
Which one? I'm sorry. Go draw. Where you
go
at?
click on the project you have, like the server hardware installed.
Oh, this one right here. Okay.
Yeah. Go. Okay. So you have the magnifier glass where you click on the contact, right? So
right here.
When you do that, you just say, hey, by the way, I just changed the affectation. I changed the assignation of this project. So go to the tables, go to the table contact and update all those numbers for me.
Yeah.
Remove from Ryan and add to whoever. So it's not at all difficult. The pieces is kind of a free lines scripts, like go to contact, search for Ryan, remove Ryan, and search for, you know what I mean? So it's but most of the time, you have another technique that is a little bit more advanced, and you use what we call the cross-reference table. So when you have a cross-reference, so that is a good, all those are very good topic. We should talk about that.
Yeah, I would just think that you should probably stop now and not waste it.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I want to tell you the people that this way is very easy. If you add a cross-reference table here, it's like piece of cake. It's super easy. If you master the concept of the cross-reference table, it's super easy. And if Scott Kane is there, he knows that I'm using cross-reference table all over the place.
Scott is technically listed here, although he
Yeah.
might be asleep taking a nap, so I'm not really sure.
Okay. Never mind.
And then Dan was commenting. I think back on the Dan was commenting back on the calculation that we had. I think probably on the value list calculation. He wrote it in SQL, and and so people could write that in SQL. I don't. Man, just keep in mind that SQL. We've talked about this before, so I don't know if Dan was around for that. But remember, SQL has to train. It's FileMaker doesn't run SQL. Okay, let's just be really clear about that. It translates it into FileMaker basically understanding, which is basically closer to the value list kind of stuff. It runs it, then it translates it back, right? So just keep in mind that there will be performance benefits with SQL if you have to get data across relationships that don't exist,
Yeah.
or things like that. So that's where, and then so of course if you have a background in SQL, then that's where it would make more sense. And then
Actually, I have a great way to explain that to people. Let's say you have a fridge, okay, and you put your fridge on the speed number 2, and you don't get the call you want. It's not because you're going to put the fridge on 4 that you're going to get the more cold. It's if you cannot get the call you want, it's not because you put more numbers that it will be faster. I mean, the SQL, as you said, is just using what FileMaker does, and but the way you trigger it is different. That's it. Okay, but it's doing the same. It's doing the same thing as a FileMaker. So there's no performance benefits here.
yeah, I think if you mixed up now, keep in mind. So Dan just said he used it to do the calculations for this. Keep in mind that SQL is running locally, right? Initially, if you run a SQL statement that says find me the related records, it still has to download those records, which pulls them down from the network. So there's no performance benefit there. He says if you combined it with PSauce, the SQL with the PSauce, then you get the benefit. So so the PSauce is the benefit. The SQL, because he's familiar with it, I think those two things go together. But PSauce is where it does it for you, kind of backhandedly. But that's been as I was prepping all the updated performance video training, the Mark Richmond from Skeleton Key, and I want to credit him. He did a lot. The Skeleton Key folks have done a lot of performance training like we have, but they'd made a big point of saying, hey, SQL is not going to be magically faster, because in order for it to evaluate the data, to get the count of the data, it still has to download it from the server. It's not like it's, so what you want to do is offload this stuff to PSauce, then onto the server, and then write the most efficient script you can, or the script that you're most familiar with. I went to pattern count a little bit ago because I'm more familiar with that, and then Nick goes, oh yeah, but value counts faster. It's always about finding, there's the way you know how to do it, and then there's the way you know how to do it, and then the way that's probably faster. Every one of us probably could speed up our stuff if we did it a different way. It's always trying to learn that. That's what the lean design stuff is, learning the faster way, not just the default way of doing it, right? So,
yeah, actually, okay. So what you need to understand. Okay, this is a great topic. I want to close this, but it's a great topic. The best way. Okay, how often are you changing the assignment of a contact in a project, and until so, what is the most possible to occur? Going next the record on the contact table, navigation between records in a contact. That means each time you load a new contact, you have those loading calculation. Or do you want the calculation to happen only when you change the contact name on the project? So because that doesn't happen all day long, doesn't happen every 2 minutes. It happens once in a while when you change somebody in the on the project, right? So make the calculation to happen
only when you need it. when you need it.
Yeah, well, no, when it happened, the list. That means only when you change the data. When you
Right. Yeah,
that's
you want to
it.
control when it moves bits of data. So
Exactly.
Andre, of course, summarized it really good. I'm going to read Andre's comment for everyone. Where Execute SQL works great is if you have hundreds of similar queries. Once FileMaker has set up the facility, subsequent SQL queries are super fast, and I do that tens of thousands. So when he says set up the facility, I think he's referencing that you've made the SQL statement, and I'm assuming you could make additional statements right behind it, and then once the script kind of closes down and shuts down or whatever you're doing, then it would dump that out of memory, right, Andre? I'm assuming that's the concept. So yeah, that's yeah, Zach, do I have that right? Because obviously, if you run a SQL and then you stop and it commits a record and everything stops, then it breaks down that whatever setup it did for you on that. Yeah. So if I builds the first query, yeah. So yeah, so that's kind of the idea. So once again, SQL, the SQL, once again, in the basic in FileMaker is that it only does basically a select statement, or it's finding records in plain English. But if you can use the SQL to do something that FileMaker doesn't natively like to do, jumping across relationships and things that don't exist, you can specify the relationship in the SQL statement. Now, if you want to run all the SQL statements, you use the base elements plugin. We learned that. I did not know that. So if you want to do write data using SQL or define schema using SQL, you got to use the base elements plugin, which is a free plugin, right? And that thing gives you the full SQL arsenal attached to the FileMaker engine, which is kind of funky because FileMaker is much slower than like a MySQL, but it has a lot more forgiving, happy things with it. So that's just a hot tip there for those of you who missed the base elements conversation. I don't know if Dan had seen that conversation or not, but the base elements plugin was really great because he gave you I think the full arsenal. That's what Nick Orr said. He's the creator of that thing. He gives you the full arsenal of SQL that you can fire against it. So very cool. So lots of conversation. Actually, for a Friday, this is a really busy group of people here. And so I want to thank everyone for being here. I'm not done yet, but I'm just saying thanks for showing up. David Angel says, how to disable show all records without altering the menu. Okay, Nick, here we go. So this is a test question for you. Ready? Everyone ready?
Yeah, I saw it. Yes,
Nick,
yeah.
in fact, we're just going to go ahead and can you show yourself? We want to show your face there. Go switch to your screen there. All right, you ready for this? Because David doesn't like my answer, and I don't blame him for asking. He wants a second opinion. So David Angel wants a second opinion. His question is, how do I disable the show all records? How do I do the find? What we used to be called find all or show. How do I disable that without altering the menu? Force it to stay in the current found set. So my answer was a custom menu, or you can completely suppress that if you go to security. So these were my answers. So
I'm not even sure you can do that on security, by the way.
Yeah. Okay. Let's try it. Let's try it real quick. So we need Let's call this as Nick, and his password is 1234 1234. We set that up. Then we need a privilege set for Nick. Create a new privilege set. We're going to call it no menus. We're going to say record access. Let's just say, you can do everything. Layout, you can all modifiable. When it says modifiable, it means read and write. That's really stupid when they said that, I think, right? Does modifiable mean layout mode, or does that mean read and write? Because that's view only.
No, I mean the layout mode.
Okay, well then let's just say you can't edit it. Valueless, all modifiable scripts, you can execute only. Okay, great. And then we come over here. Right here it's this option right here. I'm gonna zoom in. Boop, 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 boop. Right here it says available menu commands. I could say minimum, editing only, or all. So minimum is minimum the smallest one, Nick? I think.
Yeah, minimum is the smallest, but you don't have that doesn't affect. This doesn't affect the menu. Show all.
You sure?
Yeah.
You sure? You're so smart. Okay, I'm gonna log out. Oh, I gotta show my file here. I'm gonna log back in. I gotta log in as Nick. All right. I haven't done this literally in probably 2 years. So, okay, hang on. Let me log in. I gotta hold the option modifier key down so I can log in as you. Nick, 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's see what we got. Contacts. All right, so what? It's showing everything. What the? Did I not do that? Did I not do that?
It's if you go to the edit menu, it's only the edit menu. If you go to edit menu,
hang on, I got to relog in because I screwed that up. All right, try it again, Nick. Here we go. So I'm gonna go to manage security. Did I? Ugh, okay, yeah, Nick. No menus. So we would call it, I have to edit that. So I go down here, I say advanced settings. There we go. Privilege sets. There's menus. There's Nick. So what do I do? You said editing only?
Yeah, so available menu commands, it doesn't make any difference here. It's only the edit menu that it changed here. It removed things. It doesn't remove menus here. It's just the edits, the edit menu. They changed the wording. They changed the wording. It wasn't that wording at all in 18. Let me open the 18.
You want to open 18 and check
They
that?
changed the wording. If available menu command. This is very confusing.
Oh, I'm confused, and I'm supposed to be doing this for 30 years.
Yeah, so it's because they changed that. Let me open her. Let me open the.
All right, you chase that for a second. I'm going to answer a question. So, Dan, yeah, so definitely go check out the Base Elements plugin. According to Nick Orr, you had the full arsenal of SQL commands, not just the limited select ones, okay? That's why I throw these random little bits in for you folks, because Dan did miss the Nick Orr Base Elements conversation. And, okay, well, Bob says he has the same drop downs in 18. So somewhere in there they changed, though, because if Nick says they changed, somewhere they did change. I'm just confused. We'd have to look it up and see what the difference are in these. You have editing editing only.
It's very confused actually.
So let me close that. Oh, I have to go down here. Okay.
It was there in 18 already.
It changed somewhere. It would change somewhere for if you.
Yeah, they changed sometimes they change it. I can go back to 17, but I want to change. I want to see what the minimum is doing here. Hold on.
Yeah, we'll look it up in the help thing. So, okay, so I've lost the ability to do stuff up here, but I've also lost the show all is removed right there. It's grayed out. It's still there. It's not enabled. So
yeah,
maybe
because you can't show all. You have one record. So.
Well, I'm pretty sure. Do we have anywhere where there's more than one record? I don't. In this file, I don't. Recent. I'm going to open the FAT file. This is my database with millions of records. This is the one we've been testing with. Now you're going to make me set up the account here. All right.
So the minimum apparently they what's the name? There's new record, delete record that is not available.
New record, delete record is not available.
Yeah, and show record fine. Nothing is there. There's nothing you can do with those. Yeah, you can edit a field.
Okay, manage.
But you can make new record, delete.
It's probably in the help, right? Yeah. If we see this, it's interesting because it's a good question. He's asked a question. Basically, you could use custom menus to get rid of this stuff. You go to manage. I go to security. We could create a new person. Once again, I'll create Nick. I'll create a password for Nick. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Save the password. We can create a new privilege set. We could call it.
Apparently, it does the job though.
Yeah, the minimum or editing only does.
Yeah,
both of them, or
the menu stuff. In the security.
Okay.
So now, yeah.
I guess I could say view only. Edit. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah,
Value
it doesn't.
Scripts.
I don't see any difference between. I think it's different here.
Recent. All right, here we go. Logging in one more time, and then I'm going to let this go. 1, 2, 3, 4. So if I log in, and this is for the extra mile that we go here for the people. So I'm going to have 250 records. I cannot show all records. So it's there, but it's grayed out. So the answer is you could at least use that setting right there for you. to lock this stuff out without creating a custom menu. But now it's up here, it's grayed out, which people be like, how come it's grayed out? So you have to decide if you want to show that or not.
So the all level menu, all menu command except those specifically disabled by other privileges. Okay, that means edit only to enable only basic editing command in browse mode. Okay, and minimum to disable all menu commands except those that open, close, and create database.
Yeah, minimum should have turned it off then. So
me, I did a test. It does.
Oh, does it? So they both do. They
Yeah.
both do, right? So that's the rub with John. Either one of them turns it off,
Yeah.
but they're still exposed. I mean, they still see them. If you don't want to see them, that's fine. So back up. So back on this. So you folks are saying that when you go to help in your copy of FileMaker, this is really interesting. So in my copy of FileMaker, when I say FileMaker Pro Help, I get FileMaker.com. It goes to redirect, and the redirect doesn't work. Now this is running. Maybe I have to run the dot. It's pretty up-to-date operating system. I got a update patch release I have to fix on that, I guess. But really, I mean, that would cause this not to load. I have it not loading on other machines too for me. So I don't know. The redirect's not working here. So I don't know.
So
right.
yeah, so this works if you do editing only.
Hang on, we're going back
and
to
you
you.
and you log in with this account. And you see here, I'm in editing only, so you have new record. All this is go, and so you have the font, all those editing thingy.
Yeah.
You have the go to layout stuff, but of course you cannot go to list mode and value list and stuff. So that's cool. Actually, you know what? To be honest with you, I never used that. You see, I might use that 10 years ago, but I stopped using it.
Well, what happens is that we train people to use that stuff, or if they don't want it, we go to the custom menu and we totally remove it. Like up here is gone. Like you'll have FileMaker Pro, you'll have window, and you'll have help or something. That's it.
Like see, you can have different menus. So the advantage of this is that as you mentioned, you don't have people say, hey, my version of FileMaker doesn't work because everything's grayed out.
Right.
When if you don't show the thing, nobody will say, hey, it's broken. No, it's not broken, it's working. But if you have plenty of stuff that is grayed out, that is, let's say, it's a fast way to get rid of stuff. But if you want to do the real stuff, the real thing is the custom menu. But the custom menu is very easy to use. I mean, we should do a topic.
Okay, I gotta call custom menus are easy to use.
It is. I use that very easy.
No. Okay, then you can have we've had 2 live streams on this. Calvin kind of went through and walked through it, but if you want to try to do it, who here wants to see the custom menu thing? Again, not today. We will schedule it, and Nick will do it, and then I'm going to be getting some alcohol, fresh vodka on rocks, and then I'm just going to watch. So.
Not for me if I'm making it. No, it's very. I mean, you need to understand. If you understand the problems of the custom menu in FileMaker, you can use it.
All right, everyone. We'll see you next week. Ciao.
Okay. Bye.
Guys just stepped up the whole way. Calm, cool, collected. The quarterback great read, good patience. More importantly, great job up front protecting this quarterback to give you a chance. And that's all you can ask for.
Try to rally down 10. 9:25 to go here in the fourth. Short motion by Amendola from the left. Brady takes the shotgun snap, stands in, throws it left for Amendola, reaches up and snacks a high throw and lands inside the 10, rolling to the 9. Ball slightly behind him, but Danny makes the grab.